Hey guys, this is Frank Yecker, and you're listening to Submission Radio.
Hey, this is Rich Franklin.
What's up, everybody? This is Chris Lieben. This is Diego Sanchez. Randy Couture.
Alistair Overeem.
Hi, this is Stephen Bonner.
This is Don Fry.
Hey, I'm Phil, Mr. Wonderful Davis.
TJ Dillashaw.
You're listening to Submission Radio.
Submission Radio.
Submission Radio.
Submission Radio.
You're listening to Submission Radio.
Ho, 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 and a Merry Christmas. Submission Radio here, episode 176. It's the 19th of December, Wednesday here in Melbourne, Australia. I've got my Christmas hat on, and it is great to be back, Cass, with another episode of Submission Radio. It feels like it's been a while since we've spoken to the people, and it's great to be back here again.
It is.
How does it feel to be back?
It's good to be back, man. I missed it. We had a sexy, believe it, we had a sexy show lined up last week. Almost a super show of sorts.
Such a good show.
Disaster struck. We couldn't do an episode, unfortunately. Family emergency. But we're back now.
Yeah.
Ready back on track.
Well, I was going to say, on the family emergency part, don't want to get too grim, don't want to get into it too much, but I did put up a message on our Twitter. So much support, so much lovely support from all of our fans, from all of our listeners, from all of our colleagues, from our other MMA media members. Grandma fell over, she broke her hip, she was 91, she had to go through a surgery, didn't know if she was going to make it or not. Some other things, but she's pulled through, she's on the mend, she's getting there. We've been able to get some positivity and some rehab going. So things are going well, but it's definitely helped me a lot seeing some of those messages. So a big thank you to everybody out there, but we wanted to make sure we had a fun return episode of Submission Radio. And even though we weren't able to get the guests that we wanted to have last week, we do have one of them, but a couple of them couldn't do it. We have a very, very, very sexy lineup for everybody at home, Cass.
Yeah, that's right. Kicking off the guests, I mean, a man that we haven't spoken to in, I don't know, it's been a few weeks at least. I feel like it's that speech where, I think it was Shawn Michaels or Triple H, I can't remember, where they're like, you gotta look to your friends, you gotta look to the clique. Who's in the Submission Radio clique? Well, there's yourself, Dennis, there's myself, there's Christian Ciccini, our videographer, there's Justin Olea, our other videographer, there's Edris Toussaint, our other videographer, there's also Oscar Willis, there's also Luke Rockhold, who will be on the program. I feel like if there was a Submission Radio office, Luke Rockhold would have his own wing or a boardroom named after him. He's one of the boys. Luke Rockhold jumped on the program. I mean, there is so much to talk about in terms of this UFC middleweight division. Israel Adesanya versus Anderson Silva, Robert Whittaker, Kelvin Gastelum. What's going on with him in 205? I mean, now that the title seems to be somewhat tied up, Israel Adesanya, Anderson Silva might be getting the next shot. What's he going to do? Is he coming back to middleweight? Is he going to be fighting someone else? Is he fighting Jaka? Is he moving up to 205? A lot of questions that we want hopefully answered. And also, what is Christmas planned? So Luke Rockhold back on the program. Michael Chiesa making his long-awaited move up to welterweight, a UFC 232 against Carlos Condit. I cannot freaking wait for this fight. I want to talk to Michael Chiesa about his weight, how things are going, how the extra weight has helped him in this training camp in the sort of weeks leading up to it. Also, Damien Brown, formerly in the UFC, now fighting at Ryzen. How exciting, man. You and me, Dennis, grew up watching Pride, and now he gets to fight in Japan. I'm very excited for him against Darren Cruikshank, no less. So Damien Brown, got to talk to him. Also, Sean Sheehan returning to the program. Again, another fixture of the Submission Radio clique. I feel like one of the most clicky people in the clique, here to discuss all the recent happenings in the MMA world. It's a sexy, festive show, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, man. It's that time of the year where you just kind of get your feet up. Work is hopefully finishing up for a lot of you. You've got the week off. You've got your family around. And why not put on the latest episode of Submission Radio? Grab yourself a beer, put your feet up, relax in the train from your final day at work, and let us entertain you. Let us reign over you with some entertainment and Submission Radio. Before we jump to the first guest, a couple of quick announcements. The first of which, Steven Seagal, that's right, the sensei, is making his way down to Australia. You guys can check him out at stevenseagal.com.au. He's going to be in Sydney on Feb 1st and in Melbourne on Feb 2nd. You guys can get your tickets, check out your information about seminars, even have a private dinner with Steven. Can you imagine the conversation at that table? If you could be a fly on a wall and find out what's really going on. Apparently, he spends a lot of time in Russia these days. That is added conversation, I feel like, at that dinner over whatever main that you're going to have. Actually, what does Steven Seagal eat? That's probably one of the things I'd care about the most. And what does he do generally during the day? Like when he gets up, what does he do? Does he have breakfast? Does he go These are the kind of questions I would ask if I paid for the dinner. So that opportunity is out there for everybody at home. Also, Khabib, that's right, Khabib is coming down to Melbourne. You guys can check him out on the 11th of January. That is at the Palais Theatre in Melbourne. You can get your tickets through Ticketmaster right now. There's some fantastic opportunities to get tickets. You can do a Q&A with Khabib. Get a photo opportunity with Khabib, have some VIP experiences. Jump on that. We hear tickets are going quickly. So go on there, check it out, and be a part of the action, Kaz. It feels like everybody's coming down to Australia these days. It's the place to be.
It is the place to be. UFC 234 in our neck of woods in Melbourne. So I think you're absolutely right. Also, we get a lot of people asking us how they will be able to watch the UFC next year if you're here in Australia. What's the deal with ESPN and ESPN Plus, or anyone around the world for that matter? Well, it's really easy. There's a link in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. You can click, you can get a free trial for ESPN Plus. Sign up, get the free trial for ESPN Plus. It's obviously the new home of the UFC. It's a free 7-day trial, and then it's $4.99 a month for anyone in Australia. That's $6.95 Australian dollars. You can cancel anytime you want. You're not locked in, and you got access to a million things. You got live UFC events. Of course, ESPN Plus will have 20 exclusive live events in 2019. You got UFC Fight Night prelims, access to UFC Fight Pass, which is a big one. Dana White's Contender Series. Tough is back next year, and you've got access to that. You got exclusive pre-fight and post-fight shows for all UFC Fight Nights. The UFC's full entire archive of programming, fights, and events air on the Bad Guy Top Rank Boxing. You got boxing libraries. You got 30 for 30, which you love, Dennis. You got college basketball, college football, other college sports. You got Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, English Football League, UEFA Nations League, NHL, and for the Aussies, cricket, rugby, PGA Tour golf, Grand Slam tennis, and more. And for anyone in Australia or anyone in the world, basically you can access this with a VPN. So if you have Google Chrome, download the extension Holla, and then you can watch it as if you are in America. You can have access to all the sexy stuff. So ESPN Plus, free 7-day trial. There's a link down in the comment section and the description below for your free trial.
Wow. So much content, so much excitement. So happy to be back here with another episode of Submission Radio. Cass, before you jump to that first guest, just a quick reminder for people to jump on Twitter, give us a follow. Follow us on Instagram, a lot of fun happening on there as well, and Facebook as well. We're active on all our social media platforms, and of course, subscribe on YouTube. There could be some fun stuff coming in January. We will be taking a break through January to the beginning of Feb when we do the big UFC 234 coverage, but alas, there could be some sneaky surprises. So don't be the guy that's at work at the water cooler and everybody's like, oh my God, did you see that latest press conference on the Submission Radio YouTube channel? Oh my God, did you see that 101? And you have to be the guy that either lies and says yes and they start asking you questions and you don't know what to say, which I do all the time. Or you have to be the guy that has to be the honest guy and says, no, I haven't seen it. And then you get demolished. You lose friends, you lose your job, excommunicated. Basically what happens anytime I tell anyone that I don't watch Game of Thrones and I don't like it because I don't like the time period, put the hate in the comments below. I'll take it. So don't be like me. Don't waste your life. Make sure you be on top of it. Subscribe to the Submission Radio YouTube channel, Cass.
Yeah. And drop your comments below in the comment section. We always love hearing what you guys have to say. Without further ado, our first guest is patiently waiting on the line. And Dennis, I believe you're about to introduce him.
All right, guys. Our next guest has a blockbuster fight locked in for Horizon 14 against fellow UFC veteran Darren Cruikshank, Australia's own Damien Brown. It's been a minute, man. Welcome back to Submission Radio. It's great to have you on the program.
It's good to be back, man. It's good to be talking to people again.
Yeah, the pleasure's all ours. What do you mean by talking to people again? Do you feel like it's been a little while since sort of the spotlight's been on you?
Not so much about the spotlight. It's just, I like the scene. I like being a part of it. And I like Fight Week and everything that comes with it. So it has been a while. February was my last fight. So, it's been, I think by the time I fight, it'll be just shy of 11 months. So longest layoff in my 9 or 10 year career. So, since my first fight. So, it's been a while.
I definitely understand what you mean as far as missing it and missing the action. I think based on what you just said, you may be the only fighter that looks forward to the actual media day and the media side of Fight Week. Is that correct?
Oh, well, I mean, I've never really headlined a card, so I guess those guys probably get tired of it. But, yeah, it doesn't worry me. I mean, like, what else are you going to do, really? Like, you work out twice or sit in the sauna twice or something. Like, there's nothing else to do. So, I don't know. Talking to people is not that hard for me. I find it pretty easy. So, yeah, it doesn't. I'm not necessarily like, oh, I can't wait for media week, but like, it's not. Man, I don't know why people get so funny about it. Like, I find it easy to do.
Well, you're good at it, Damien, and we're excited to speak to you about this big fight, Ryzen 14. Tell us, how did this fight come together in Japan? I mean, it's a big New Year's card. It's a big opponent. When did you find out that this fight is actually on the card, and what was your reaction when you knew you'd be fighting on it?
So obviously I had some injuries, so I had some time off. And when the UFC released me, I couldn't sign with anyone because people don't sign injured fighters. So as soon as I was healthy, I contacted Ryzen. They told me they would sign me. As soon as the fight came up, a few days later, my manager contacted me and said, because at the time I was managing myself, but a few days later I'd signed with a manager. He's like, "Hey, you want to fight this guy?" And I was like, "Yep." So like, there's never a no for me, man. Like, it's just another fight. So I was like, "Yep, let's do it." Perfect fight for me. I love it. It's everything I wanted when I left the UFC. I wanted the biggest fights on the biggest stage in the world. I didn't care about coming back home and fighting on the local shows. I just wanted the biggest fight I could get against the biggest opponent on the biggest stage. And so when they offered it to me for September 30, and it took a few weeks, and he hadn't really said, I hadn't got an answer back. So we just said, let's wait so I can get a full camp in because of my time off. And they were cool with that. So they said that they'd put me on New Year's, and as soon as the last fight was over and he beat Brandau, I asked for it again, and a week later I had the contract. So that's kind of how it came up.
How do you feel about fighting on New Year's? I don't know if New Year's is sort of a big thing for you, but I know like here in Australia, obviously we love our Aussie Christmas. What's that been like for you?
I've never been out on New Year's, so it's no different for me. I just, I get to celebrate this time. But
what do you normally do on New Year's? Is it because of your work?
Sometimes I work, sometimes I don't. Like ex-army,
yeah.
You just never know what you're doing on New Year's. So, yeah, I don't really celebrate New Year's. I just find that going out on New Year's, there's lots of violence, and I just don't like it. I'm not like a big nightclub person anyway. So, I just never go out on New Year's because I just find that it's, that's where most of the trouble is. So, I've always just kind of avoided it. I just go with family and watch fireworks and stuff, and I still enjoy it. I still sit up till midnight for whatever weird reason. Just to say it's midnight and it's now the next year, but yeah, I just don't go out and party and stuff. So, it'll be no different for me this year. This year I can go and do what I do and enjoy it. Christmas, I guess is bigger this year than any other year, but just because I got a son that understands now because he's old enough to know it's Christmas.
Oh, how old now?
He's 21 months,
Wow.
I think. So he knows like what Christmas presents are and what Santa is and that. So this year it's a bit more special. But in the past, like Christmas Day is my birthday, so I don't really get too funny about Christmas because it's my birthday as well. But I don't get funny about my birthday because no one really cares. It's Christmas. So it's cool, man. I just treat every day like it's a normal day. So I guess it makes it's kind of good in a way that's fight week because you don't do a lot of training, so it's not going to hurt, doing a sweat session on a bike or something on the Tuesday as opposed to having to try and find a way to get 2 training sessions in. So from that point of view, it's good.
Wow, unbelievable. A birthday on Christmas, no less. I imagine when you were growing up, there was a lack of presents. I'd hate that. Yeah, you got to get double the presents, man. There's no way around it. You can't just get the standard Christmas present and that's it. Unacceptable. I hope your mum.
My parents are separated, so I always got 4 gifts.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Good.
So I'm not going to complain about presents.
One of the only positives about a separation can be one of those things. Now, let's talk about Japan for a sec, because obviously Pride is a huge deal for a lot of MMA fans. Were you a big fan of Pride, and what does it mean to you to actually be able to fight on a stage so similar to Pride in another country like Japan, where the MMA fans and the community is such a big deal?
Oh man, I've got every single Pride event on a hard drive. I love Pride.
Wow.
I thought it was awesome. Yeah, I'm a massive Pride fan, and I think it's cool. Like for me, it was a big deal. Sorry about that bright light there, guys. I'm walking into the gym.
No, it's fine.
For me,
It's great.
It was a big deal because I really wanted to fight in Japan before I was done. Before I was done fighting, I felt like Japanese culture and their acceptance of martial arts, like true martial arts, and like properly testing yourself was something that I really wanted to experience, and I thought that I would really fit in that kind of environment. So I'm super excited to fight in Japan, and even more so to fight for someone like Ryzen. I think it's pretty cool. So
Is this a long-term sort of contract, long-term deal between you and Ryzen, like say Darren's, or is there a chance we may see you even, I don't know, explore other options or return to the UFC at some point?
Yeah, so I signed a 2-fight deal with Ryzen, but it's I'm only exclusive in Asia, so anything. Oh, I sat on an ant's nest. So anything can happen. I'll just see what comes next. Like for now, I just worry about this fight. But like I said, I got two fights, so I'll just see what happens after this fight, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. And I mean, we know that UFC 234 is right around the corner, so it must be disappointing that you're not on that card. But I mean, being on a massive card in Japan must make up for it. What does it feel like to be on the same card with a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who's going to be having this wacky exhibition bout?
Oh man, I haven't really thought like what it's like to be, on his card or in the same spot. Like to me, I've never really been a massive boxing fan. I like some boxers, but I don't really get into it too much. But I feel like being on the same card is going to bring eyes to the card that otherwise wouldn't have been there, and I'm pretty excited about that. Not just for me, but just everyone that's on that card. Like, it's pretty exciting to know that people who weren't going to tune in before are likely to tune in now and watch the fights and see what it's all about. So I think that's pretty cool.
Do you think you're sort of gonna, I guess, even though you're a professional fighter, do you think you'll sort of be like a bit of a kid in a candy store and sort of fan out and sort of enjoy the experience, maybe even approach Floyd and have a chat to him at some point?
Oh man, I think you need to get past those security guards that you got, right?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not really. I don't know. I don't really fanboy. I guess there's only ever been one fighter that's really, I wanted to say good day to, and I didn't, and that was Robbie Lawler. I seen him in the street over in America when I fought on the same card, and I kind of wish now I had said good day, but I didn't. And that's the only fighter really who I've ever thought, man, I really want to talk to him, but I didn't. So, but yeah, I don't think it'll be like that with Mayweather. Like, he doesn't really come across like, to me, someone who I would be a huge fan of in terms of being a person. Maybe the way he boxes, but just not as a person. So I'm not really that interested in having a big chit chat with him or anything.
It will be interesting to see how this exhibition fight plays out. But let's talk about your fight, because Darren is riding a very nice 3-fight win streak in Rise, and he beat some really good names. You mentioned Thiago Brandao. I mean, there are some really tough competitors he's been able to beat. What have you thought of his run at Rise and what he's looked like lately?
I mean, he looks good, but he looks like himself, right? He has never changed. You use his boxing to set up his kicks, and he throws kicks like most people throw jabs. Like, he'll throw kicks all day long. So, I think he scores a lot of points, and he can easily win a decision with his work rate. But he definitely looks for that knockout shot. But it's not from accumulative shots. It's from that single. Like he knocked Brandao out that flying knee. He picked the shot. He read Brandao's movement and knew he was going to go for the takedown, and he landed it. He obviously possesses the power when he needs it, and he has a high work rate. But I don't think he responds well to pressure. So we'll see what happens.
Do you think? I know that a lot of this time, sort of when you left the UFC, was sort of dedicated to healing your body. But has it been sort of good to just kind of train and sort of work on your skills? And what kind of, I guess, Damien Brown do you think we'll be seeing this New Year's at Ryzen?
Hey man, the same Damien Brown that was in Sydney last year. I'm going to go forward and put pressure on him, and what happens will happen. But it's going to be an explosive fight. My body loved the time off. I didn't like the time off because I like staying active, but my body loved the time off, and I feel the best I've felt in any fight camp. Like, I've got no injuries. My body feels 100%, which is awesome because it hasn't felt like that in like 9 years.
Wow.
So it's kind of like having a forced rest. I feel fitter than I ever have, and the results from my conditioning and my sparring rounds and that show. So it's going to be a high-paced 15 minutes. I'm super excited for it.
It's going to be super exciting. And if you had a prediction, how do you think this one goes? Well, how do you envision yourself getting the victory?
No, man, I think I'm going to win the fight, but I don't think the fight goes the distance. So I think that the fans are in for a treat.
As we let you go, you're going to be there in such a fun time. Anything in Japan that you're going to check out afterwards, Damien, with the fam?
Oh, man, I fly out the next night.
Oh, no.
With like, I think like a 1 hour transfer to the airport. So I got to leave about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't have anything particular I'm going to check out. I'm leaving late and I'm coming home early. So we're just going to make it a quick trip this time and go over, cut weight, get the fight done and come home. But I'll definitely be looking to make the second trip out there a decent holiday as well.
You be like an Aussie secret agent this time around. Get in there, take care of business, get out, see the fam. It's going to be a lot of fun, Damien. We wish you the best of luck. Guys, make sure to support Damien. Give him a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Beatdown155. And, of course, watch him represent Australia at Ryzen 14 on the 31st of this month at the iconic Saitama Super Arena in Japan, where he takes on Darren Cruikshank. Damien, we'll be watching, man. Best of luck, and thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is Tony Okagui Ferguson, and you guys listen to Submission Radio. Keep tuning in, guys.
All right, guys, our next guest is moving up and making this highly anticipated welterweight debut at UFC 232 as he takes on Carlos Condit, owner of one of the best beards of MMA, Michael Chiesa. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you today?
Doing well, man. Really good. Really excited for this welterweight debut, man. It's I think it's been a long time coming. I think that this is something I should have done a long time ago, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I know. Well, there's a lot to touch on. We saw you were obviously up in the Schweizer Mountain Resort in Idaho. We were going to ask, this is something you don't necessarily see fighters do, taking snow trips away, I guess, weeks out before a fight. Is this the normal thing for you? Yeah,
absolutely. I kind of, my inspiration for those types of activities really comes from Donald Cerrone. My first love ever, the first love of my life was a skateboard. The first time I ever stepped on a skateboard growing up, that was the first thing or person I ever fell in love with. And, as I've gotten into this fighting career and I'm like, you know what? I just perform better when I'm just doing the things I want to do, and the things I want to do aren't bad for me. You know what I mean? And snowboarding is a good activity out there, getting the legs going and stuff. So it's, it was good.
I'm actually a big fan of snowboarding myself as well. Do you ever get worried? Are you ever like, oh God, I'm picking up a lot of speed here, I got to fight like in a couple of weeks when you're going down the mountain on the snowboard?
No, I have a deal with my manager. No jumps, no backflips, none of that stuff. I have a fight contract signed. So if I'm in camp, I just keep my board on the floor and, but once the fight gets over, you can catch me hucking like a madman. So come December 30th, I'm making sure I'm on the early flight home so I can get a half day in on Sunday after the fight if I'm not too banged up.
Can you actually do that crazy stuff? Can you do backflips and all sorts of crazy tricks on the snowboard?
This will be the first year, so I'm really working on sticking my first backflip this year. It's kind of hard when you're tall, really kind of get your body whipped around and tucked, but I've had a couple of decent attempts, but I can do other tricks and stuff too. But this is the year of the backflip. I told my girlfriend, I'm like, this season I'm going to stick one. I'm going to land a backflip, and best believe I'll have it on social media.
Yeah.
Wow. So much to look forward to. Also, a belated birthday to you, Michael. We saw you had some In-N-Out burger to celebrate. Is it true that these were the first ones you've had in 3 years, and is it because of always having to make 155?
Well, they were my first In-N-Out burgers I had in 3 years. So what the story goes, I've only had In-N-Out like 3 times, I think. And the idea came to me when it was fight week for the Jim Miller fight. I was like, dude, for my birthday, I want to go to In-N-Out Burger. My birthday was 3 days before the fight. And my teammate, Sam Cecilia, was just like, dude, you're not getting In-N-Out Burger. You're like 15 pounds overweight. You got weigh-ins. And like, it just kind of turned into this like joking thing. And then me kind of being persistent with it. And he was just like, dude, no, you're not getting In-N-Out Burger. And so I decided, since it was my birthday and he wasn't there, he was, he was in fight week for his fight in Hawaii. I was like, say, Sam, 3 years later, here I am, In-N-Out Burger.
How were they? Were they some of the best burgers you've had now that you have that extra allowance and you don't have to really stress or worry about, making 155?
Dude, they're pretty damn good. But after I ate 3 of those things.
Jesus.
I ate 3 double-double in the fries. And when I got done, I was like, dude, I don't think I need In-N-Out Burger for a long time. That was a pretty big gut bomb.
Oh, for sure. No, it does take it out of you. We have to pay any time we have to have a burger there. Let's talk about the weight cut and the new weight class for you, man. What's it like training and not having to worry about the weight cut? And what's training camp been like for you going into UFC 232 with this new sort of, I suppose, wrinkle in the preparation?
Dude, it's been, the best way to describe it is like, it almost makes me feel guilty that I'm not stressed out the whole camp. I'm so used to being super stressed out the whole training camp. Like it always stems from my weight. You know what I mean? I start stressing about my weight. Then once that starts rolling, then I'm starting to stress about the fight. I'm stressed about, winning. I'm stressed about everything. And this camp has just been like, dude, like I can just focus on my skills. Like, especially in the last, 3 years, the camp has always just been revolving around like cutting weight. You know what I mean? Everything is always like, aside from sparring, everything is in sweats. I'm always running. I'm always just like, it's just not, it's been stunting my growth as a fighter. The time that I grow the most as a fighter is when I'm in training camp. I train year round. I'm very adamant about that, but when I don't have a training camp, I'm just training to have fun. You know what I mean? But when I'm in training camp, that's when I'm really dialing my skills, really focusing on getting better. And, I've been robbing myself of that these last few years. And so this training camp has been just all about getting better. I've been happier. I'm stress-free. Like my family, my family is very happy with my decision. It's hard for them to see. Not only is it hard to have somebody you love that competes as a fighter, but imagine having somebody that not only do they do that, but they also kill themselves cutting weight. A lot of people that see me in person, they're like, "Holy crap, dude! You are the biggest lightweight ever." I don't want to be the biggest lightweight ever. You know what I mean? I don't like that. I want to be. It's either I need to keep killing myself to be just this small bag of bones to fight at 155, or focus on being an athlete. I want to be a big, strong, fast, athletic guy, couple that with my fighting skills, and you have a very dangerous guy. That's who I want to be. I don't want to be the guy that's just a walking skeleton 6 months out of the year. You know what I mean? And it's paying its dividends. This morning, I woke up, I was 184, and, it's like, for me, I still have to pinch myself because I see that number, and I'm like, fuck, I'm still so far over. And I'm like, wait, dude, I'm fighting at 170. Like, got to pinch myself and remember sometimes, like, I'm not a lightweight anymore. So, and it's funny that when I was fighting at lightweight, if anybody asked my weight, I would always lie. I would always tell you, oh, I'm 165, but it's like, yeah, I'm actually 170. Where it's like, now I can honestly tell you, like, hey, I was 184 this morning, and I'm not lying about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, dude, I can't, to really prove that this was the best choice, it's really important I go out and win, and easier said than done. I got a freaking tough-ass fight ahead of me. It's against a guy that I respect a lot, Carlos Condit. I mean, I still have some of his walkout shirts, his sinister walkout shirts. When I was up a fighter, I was buying his shirts, and I was always watching his fights. And I'm a fan first, I'm a fighter second. But, I've learned to put that fanboy aside and go out and perform and beat these guys that I grew up watching. I've competed against plenty of guys that I look up to. And, I know that I'll be able to put that aside and go out and do what I got to do to get the win, whether it's a 3-round war or a quick submission, I know I'm going to be ready for whatever Carlos throws at me, and I'm excited for the opportunity to compete against him. I got a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely coming through, even in your voice. We can feel how sort of happy and relaxed you are. I imagine that's a lot of, to do with what you're talking about with the weight. Just take us back to it. When exactly was the moment that you decided, all right, enough's enough, no more cuts to 155? When exactly was it?
I've always toiled with the idea. This was going back to, like probably after the Beneil Dariush fight. That was a pretty tough weight cut. And, and it's not like I made the decision then, but going back to that, it was like, I'm going to stay at 55 until I start to have some shortcomings, and then I'm going to go up to 70. So it's something we'd already talked about as a team, but it's like, while you're winning, while you're rolling, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I'll still keep making the win. We're climbing the rankings. We're getting closer to the goal. The goal is a world championship. We know we're going to get one. 155 was just a focus because that's where I've been my whole career. And, the whole Kevin Lee fight happened. I didn't look at that as a shortcoming. That's another story all in itself. And then once I got done with the, when I got home from Brooklyn and we started camp for the Pettis fight for the July fight, we started the second camp for Pettis. I just remember talking to Bo Sandoval here at the PI, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna beat Anthony, and then I'm gonna go up to welterweight instead of doing this on a shortcoming. A lot of people make changes when they lose. That's a common thing in this sport. A guy loses a couple fights and they make a change. You know what I mean? I've always kind of knocked people for that. Like, oh, you lose a couple fights, you change camps, or oh, you lose a couple fights, you change weight classes. And I don't think that's always the answer. So for me, I was like, my plan was to beat Anthony and go up. You know what I mean? You don't see that, and I think that would have been something different. I think it would have caught a lot of people's attention. But things don't always go the way you plan them to. This is mixed martial arts. I lost, so it's I still wanted to stick. The stubborn side of me wanted to still stay at lightweight until I got the win and move up on a win. But it's like, dude, if I stay at lightweight and I win a fight, I'm gonna get sucked into staying there. You know what I mean? Like, let's make the choice now while I'm still young, while I'm in my prime. I just turned 31. I got a lot of fighting years left. So I had pretty much made the choice before I fought Anthony, like, hey, it's time to make that welterweight jump. It's time to get back to focusing on fighting fighters instead of fighting the scale. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, both divisions are full of killers, 155 and 170. But now that you're a part of 170, which one do you think might be tougher? Which one do you think is sort of the one with the hardest guys?
Ooh, that's a tough call. You look at lightweight, and I feel like lightweight is just it's a lot more log jammed than 170 is, and it's weird because 170 has, both weight classes have had interim champions and whatnot, but I feel like 155 is just very log jammed. You got, Khabib won the title, and then you got, Tony Ferguson was interim champ, and then he was stripped, and then now you got guys like Dustin Poirier waiting in the fringe. He's not even getting a title shot yet. Conor, if Conor wants to jump back in the party, he gets whatever he wants. You know what I mean? He's a double champ. He's one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world. So if he wants to jump in the mix, he could get a title shot if he wants it, when he wants it. So I feel like, getting away from 155, I feel like it's a little more wide open at 170. You have one champion. Granted, Tyron doesn't fight a lot as of late. He's still a phenomenal champion. You got guys like Kamaru Usman. He's a freaking beast. Darren Till, he's a beast. So now I'm looking at the challenges I look at now at welterweight is, at 155, I was like, I'm one of the bigger guys, so I'm never gonna have the size disadvantage. I'm always gonna have the size advantage. Whereas now at welterweight, it's like I don't have that size advantage, and I don't look at that as a bad thing. Like this training camp, being able to train with bigger guys, I'm landing a lot more shots. I'm doing better going with bigger guys than I do going with smaller guys. So I like the challenges ahead. I like, I just like the way I'm performing right now. So I think both weight classes are equally as tough, just in their own rights.
I was going to ask, is there sort of any dream fights of yours now that are at 170 when you look at a completely different pool? I imagine you studied 155 for so long. I know you wanted that Tony Ferguson fight for like forever, you guys with Destin. But now when you look at 170, you got all these characters and contenders, guys like Colby, guys like Ben Askren, and anyone that sort of stands out to you at some point in the future?
You know, not really. Just because I haven't been in the weight class enough.
Yeah.
You know, it's not Tony Ferguson fight. That's always going to be one. And that's a guy that I have a lot of respect for as well. I just say that because Tony's Tony. I don't even need to get into it. You guys already know why I'm a fan of the guy.
Yeah.
He's fucking amazing. And I just always look at Tony as he's the toughest matchup for me, and he could bring out the best in me. It would be a fucking war. You know, as a fighter, you got this sick side of you that you admire fights like Rory McDonald and Robbie Lawler too, or, you know, Brian Ortega and Max Holloway. You look at these blood and guts fights, and as a fighter, you're like, someday I want to be in one. You know what I mean? And Tony Ferguson's that guy where I know that's a surefire, like, blood and guts type fight. This fight with Condit could be a blood and guts type fight. I mean, look at him.
Yeah.
Carlos and now Killer. This guy's been. GSP says that's the toughest fight he's ever had. You know what I mean? So I could get what I'm asking for, you know, next weekend. Who knows? But as far as dream matchups at 170, I haven't really thought that far ahead yet. Been pretty focused on Carlos.
Yeah, well, Carlos is a legend, like you mentioned. What do you think of the Carlos that we've seen lately and the one that we see in 2018? And I suppose, what kind of Condit are you preparing for? Are you preparing for the Condit that you were a fan of back when you used to wear his walkout T-shirts?
I'm preparing for WEC Carlos Condit. I'm preparing for Don Hyun Kim, Dan Hardy, Carlos Condit. You know what I mean? That's the Carlos Condit I'm preparing for. And I don't look at him. He is a legend of the sport, but I don't look at him like that because I just don't think this is a sport where people are quick to be written off. You know what I mean? A guy could be on a 4-fight win streak, get his butt kicked one time, and everybody's writing him off. But 4 fights before that guy was a hero. You know what I mean? So I'm not looking at Carlos like that. That'd be a huge mistake. I mean, this guy, he's from a great camp. He's very well coached. I got a lot of respect for that team. You know, the guy trained side by side with Jon Jones. That's a pretty good training partner right there. So I'm expecting the best Carlos Condit. You know what I mean? And I think that I don't think this is the toughest matchup for me, but it is a tough matchup. I mean, Carlos he's a gamer, so I got to be sharp. I got to be, you know, I got to be on my A game that night. And I think I'm giving myself the best opportunity to win a fight like this by going up a weight class. You know, at 155, it's like, you know, it's hard to rebound from that weight cut. You got to just go out and just kind of, Anthony Smith said it best. You're kind of in a fog, so you just go put the gas pedal to the floor and hope for the best. Whereas this fight, I feel like I can be a little more cerebral. I feel like I can make a lot better choices, and I feel like, you know, if I bring my best game to the table, I think I can make this a pretty good win for me.
And by the way, we miss seeing you at the Fox analyst desk. Have you spoken to the UFC anymore about possibly doing some work with the UFC when they move to ESPN next year?
I have a good feeling that there's going to be some things in the works for me. A good friend of mine, JLP Sonnen.
Oh, it's a good friend to have.
Nice to be friends with that guy.
Yeah.
That's my boy. That's my boy. That's the man. That's the GOAT. You know, he's got good connections over at ESPN. And now that I don't have a mullet, I think I have a good shot at ESPN. So we'll see. Right now, the focus is Carlos Condit. It's been a busy year for me, a tumultuous year. Lot of lows, but I'm very focused. I'm in a good place right now. Surprisingly, I'm bouncing back. I feel good. It's good to be in camp and focused on this fight, and I think good things are in store for me in 2019.
Do you feel like this could be the first sort of real version of Michael Chiesa that people see? Because you spoke about how much you sort of drained yourself to get down to 155 and how much better you're looking now, that this could be almost like, I'm sure it's a bit of a rebirth in a lot of ways, but this could be the first time people truly see what Michael Chiesa is about, in a sense.
I do. I feel like this is going to be, I mean, I can't even get into it enough how much better I've been performing in the gym. You know, my team back home the room has been super tough. I mean, Austin Arnett just won. Sam Cecilia just won. My teammate Tyler Damien walked away with the 1 world championship. The room's been super tough. And, we've always talked about how in these last few fights, I really have not shown who I am in the gym. And it's really hard, even when you're at your best, it is hard to be who you are in the gym. There's a lot of different factors going into that, being under the lights and competing and this and that. But I just don't feel like I've competed to even half of my potential. I don't feel like I've competed and shown half of the fighter I am. And there's a lot of things, a lot of outside reasoning and pretty much surrounding the weight cut that's holding me back from that. So I think that you're going to definitely see a different side of me. Really, really prepared for this fight. And I think I'm going to surprise a lot of people. I think that there's a reason why they put us on the main card. There's a reason why me and Carlos are going to be the last non-title fight of 2018. We're going to steal the show.
Wow. And on a card like UFC 232, the UFC are expecting big things from this fight. So as we go, Mike, just a quick prediction from you. How do you see yourself getting it done at UFC 232 against Carlos Condit?
Whether it's a submission or whether it's blood and guts, I just see myself having the referee raising my hand, and looking forward to having a good fight against Carlos Condit. It's going to be a fucking awesome night.
Just quickly, before we let you go, just to sort of sweeten the deal for anyone at ESPN, if you had to put your analyst hat on, do you have any predictions for the main event? Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson? Any way that you see that one going?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I haven't really thought. I saw Gustafsson yesterday here at the Performance Institute. He looks great. That guy has presence. That guy is like a real life walking Viking. He walks in a room like, holy crap, it's Alexander Gustafsson. Guy's tough as hell. We'll see, man. We'll see. Both guys coming off the layoff. It's going to be interesting to see what each guy brings to the table. We'll see. Who knows? It's going to be a tough call. I'll do better with my fight picks once I get through this fight. I've been very zeroed in on Carlos Condit. So I haven't really done much thinking outside of that. Outside of my teammates' fights and my fights, I have not really been paying attention to the schedule.
I feel like that's a good sign, right? You don't want to hear a fighter being like, yeah, I've been paying attention to everything except for my fight. So I feel like the fact that you've been that zeroed in, it guarantees us a good time on UFC 232, guys. Michael Chiesa vs. Carlos Condit. UFC 232, December 29th. It's going to be the 30th here in Australia and New Zealand because of the time difference. Follow the man on Twitter and Instagram at MikeMav22. And we're going to hold you to that backflip video. I hope to see you sticking one. And, of course, it's going to be on Instagram.
You will. You'll see it. It'll be good. It'll be a good one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and good luck at 232, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
This is TJ Dillashaw, UFC champ. Listen to Submission Radio.
All right, guys. Our next guest is a former Strikeforce and UFC middleweight champion. After having to withdraw from UFC 230, he now joins us back on the show to bring some holiday cheers. Luke Rockhold, welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you, man?
Good. Can't complain.
Luke, you are the 007 of MMA. We know you're always traveling to a new country, always possibly with a new woman all over the world, the globetrotter. Tell us, where are you right now? Because so you're online. This is the new woman in your life.
That's the new woman in my life. That's about it. She's cheap. She loves me truly, deeply, and no, I've been wanting to get a dog for a while, so finally pulled the trigger, got the right one, and I'm in California over here, Malibu. Unfortunately, I haven't seen much of the fires. I haven't seen one speck of ash, so not too bad over here though. Good to be
home. Look at that view between the dog and that balcony view. I think Christmas is looking pretty good for Luke Rockhold. Tell us, what's it like having the dog now? How long have you had Lucy for? And we imagine picking up women isn't difficult when you're Luke Rockhold, but adding a cute dog into the new weapon arsenal, that can't hit, right?
I'm a professional. I stick to my game.
What went into
Lucy's for professionalism.
Oh, of course. What went into the choosing the breed, Luke?
I like to hunt on the off time from time to time, and they're good, smart. I mean, hunting dogs are always smart. They're kind of in between. She's got the little not so active like a pointer, which I was looking into, but they're a little more unique and a little more family friendly than the rest of the hunting dogs, and so athletic, vicious little animal. I named her after Lucia Riker. She's the most vicious little female you've ever come across.
Oh, Lucy, there she is. I'm looking forward to seeing Lucy with you during fight weeks. And speaking of fight weeks, it was also a bit of an anniversary. 3 years ago, last week was the date that you beat Chris Weidman to win the middleweight championship. How crazy is that? Time flies. What do you remember when you think back to that crazy night? It was a pretty memorable moment in MMA.
I remember it was quite the week. It was a bit of a headache. We had the leg issue I was dealing with. I was sitting in the back soaking my leg, and all my coaches, everyone was pretty much shitting their pants, just worried because they knew I was just on antibiotics nonstop for 2 weeks, and I was soaking my leg before we arrived to the arena. And so I remember we were getting in the hotel. We were getting the elevator from the hotel, and the elevators was silent. I was like we were going to a funeral or something. I said, what the fuck? I just stomped my foot down. I said, what the fuck you guys doing? Lively up. We're about to go fucking win a world title. And so got everybody back on the program, and it was good, man. It was good. I knew what I was going to do. I knew I was the better man that night, and I was just I was calm, cool, and relaxed. Went in there and then just took it the way I guess, it wasn't easy, but I knew that I could fight through it and just relax my way through the positions and flow through it. Chris he's stiff. It'll be like water.
Was that one of the craziest things you've ever been through in your life as far as overcoming that fight week? I imagine fighting is nerve-wracking as it is, knowing what you were going through, knowing sort of, right until the end you were sort of helping that leg, and then to beat him the way you did. Was that sort of one of the craziest experiences of your life?
It's definitely up there. It's a world title and MGM. It was a big stage. There's a lot that went into it, and so far it's one of those. It's a good moment in time.
I fully expect you to show Lucy on the TV the fight, because she wasn't around then to see what she missed out on 3 years ago. Now, last time that we spoke to you, you were talking about a quick return. You were talking almost about even fighting at UFC 232. So I'm wondering, how's the leg going? How's your injury going? And how's that sort of return timeline looking now?
It's a little longer than I'd hoped. I think I rushed into the fight at Madison Square Garden. They really wanted that matchup with Weidman at Madison Square, and I liked it a lot. And I think I just made myself believe that I could make it happen. It was far too soon for my leg. There's just so much internal healing and in the scar, and the scar is finally just sealing up over the top, and then there's all the underlying issues, and it's right on the bone. And so if I were to kick, even at this point, it's still fairly dangerous that the whole thing could just open up like a big female wound on my shin. I don't know.
Bit of an axe wound, yeah.
I don't know how. A bit of an axe wound. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how else to put it. It could be really, really bad, and I'm not really willing to risk a fight at this point just due to that. So I'm trying to heal. I got some stem cells injected back into it, and then my knee that really kind of took me out of the fight. That was the last thing. I was kind of working around everything else. It's a little more than I thought to. It's a small tear of my PCL and my ACL. So I tried to work around it, and I re-injured. I hurt it a little bit, and so I just noticed that I got to back off for at least 6 more weeks probably now, and move up and get stronger. I'm training every day. I'm lifting. So getting stronger. Getting stronger is the recipe. Light heavyweight is the course. I'm coming for these guys, man. I'm just not really impressed with what's going on right now in that division. I'm tired of compromising my body, and I'm a better fighter. Where I fight naturally and bigger, and I'm long overdue moving up, and I'm done with middleweight. It's time to move on.
Wow, there you go. I think that's sort of as official as I've ever heard you say it. There's some pictures of you next to Robbie Lawler. I don't know if you guys are weight training. You look huge. You next to Cain Velasquez. You look bigger than him, and he's a heavyweight. So that's it. No more middleweight. No more middleweight returns for you. It's just 205 from here on out, right?
That is it. That is it, man. I was ready to move up, and then they enticed me with that fight to get to Madison Square Garden, and I made myself believe I can do it, but your body breaks down. In camp, everything just starts falling apart. When I get my weight gets down further and further, and the stress of the fight builds up. My body falls apart. So, it's been meaning to happen for the last few years. I mean, I've been killing myself for many years now, trying to make that weight, and it's makes me less of a fighter. So I'm ready to move on, and I'm ready to light these guys up. And you got guys making waves at light heavyweight that they're somewhat laughable. A couple of middleweight washouts reaching into the top 10 within a few fights. It's the division is open. I'm ready to feast.
Are you talking about Anthony Smith? Because he's the guy that came up from middleweight, and he's obviously made some waves at 205.
Anthony Smith, yeah. I mean, Santos came up just recently too. I mean, These guys are. I'm just not impressed. Not impressed, man. These guys are. They're a little sloppy in so many ways, and I see openings, and I'm ready to move up. I mean, the rest of the division, there's a couple good guys up there, and but I don't see much, and I'm ready to come up, and I'm ready to shut it down.
Because Anthony Smith was actually talking to the media recently, and he believes he deserves the next title shot over whoever wins between Jones and Gustafsson. What do you think about that?
On what? On what basis? No. He looked like shit. He didn't look good his last fight. I'm not going to say. He looked like a bum.
I guess that's one of the reasons why it sort of leaves the division open for you. What are you expecting from this Gustafsson Jon Jones fight?
It's an interesting matchup. Obviously, Gus is confident. Gus he likes the matchup with Jon, and I think he poses a lot of threats. We'll see what Jon comes back, and Jon's obviously been through a lot. He's been away for a while. So is Gus actually too. So I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be one of those close fights, and it's going to come down to the end. I know Jon keeps coming to the very end, and then that's what won the fight. He won the championship rounds, and so it was close. I gave it to Jon last time, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Anything could happen. This is fighting.
Well, what would excite you more, a fight with Jon Jones or Alexander Gustafsson?
The winner.
We know you're looking at the title belt, and that's the thing that's most attractive to you. But speaking to the UFC, what kind of indication have they made to you? Would there be a warm-up fight when you go in there? Would you be looking at a guy like Anthony Smith to sort of make your light heavyweight debut before you sort of fight for the title? Have they indicated anything yet?
I've got some pretty marketable matchups, so we just got to get healthy. I got to get healthy. When I'm healthy, when I'm cleared, then we can see who's available, and it's going to be one of the very top guys. I'm not messing around. I mean, I'd like one or two fights before I jump into the winner of one of those fights, and so I want to get comfortable. This is obviously it is moving up. I'm putting on some weight, and I want to feel it out, get my body ready for it.
Wow,
feel good about it.
So obviously you're talking to the UFC already, and when you say marketable, I guess you're pretty confident and happy with sort of what they're offering you in terms of opponents next, right?
Yeah, we're going back and forth and about some ideas, but like I said, there's no point in really locking down anything right now until I'm medically cleared to fight, and so I got to take care of my knee and let this shin wound heal up. So that's it, really. Just trying to get the body back and lift and get bigger. Like I said, I'm 220 right now, and feels good. Feels right.
On a bit of a side note, after UFC 230, we for some reason thought you and Israel Adesanya were going to get matched up. Maybe the UFC sort of liked that. Was that offered to you at any point? Did they approach you about maybe doing that fight?
They did not. There was no talk of that whatsoever. I think they, for some reason, they had Anderson in their sights for that thing. Israel looks good. I like his style, but it's I don't know. Let's see, there's questions to be answered about Israel. How deep is his game? And but I think stylistically, he's done really well thus far.
Are you picking him in this Anderson fight? Do you believe he can get it done?
Yeah.
Are you
speak? Sorry
we'll
to jump
see,
in, Kaz, but you a bit of a change of mind, Luke.
No, just we'll see what Anderson shows up. Anderson's been popped for roids twice in a row now, so what Anderson's going to pop in this time? Is he going to be a less or more of a fighter? Who knows?
And at this point, is there anything that the UFC could throw at you to make you go back down to middleweight? If somehow people get injured and things can go out of the way, is there anything they could give you at this point? I know Chris Weidman, Madison Square Garden sealed the deal last time, but at this point, are you just past it all and just want to focus on light heavyweight?
Light heavyweight is it. Like I said, light heavyweight is the recipe. I'm coming for the light heavyweight. I'm just this last camp, and it really made me realize my body just rejects 85, and every time I get down, I fall apart. So, I'm a better fighter with when I fight naturally and just let my body. I was restricting my body. Everything I would eat would just, I'd blow up. So I'd have to just nibble at every damn little thing. It's just not living. So I'm happier here, and it feels right, and I'm feel better than I've ever felt. So I'm very confident moving in to light heavyweight. And so move up.
What was your walking around weight at 185, Luke? And what do you reckon will be sort of like an optimal weight for you to walk around at 205 once you put on the extra muscle and the size?
I don't think I'm going to get too much bigger than 220. I'm just under that now, so just displacing some weight, some muscle, and just letting my body do its thing. So I'm going to lift. I'm going to train as hard as I can, fuel my body the way it wants to be fueled, and I'm not going to restrict myself. And so I'm not going to overdo it. I think 220 is my mark.
It seems like 2019 sort of going to be a great year for you. What you mentioned before, about 6 weeks, you need to be a little bit careful with the body. What do you think would be an ideal sort of time frame for you as far as a return?
Depends. The March time frame sounds pretty good. I like the sound of that. I'm trying to do everything I can to get back in there, and so trust me, I want to rush my way in, but I want to do it right, and I don't want to have to fall out of this thing. So I'm just waiting for the body to go, but I think March is very realistic.
There's speculation that March might be DC versus Lesnar if that happens. Imagine you and DC on that card together. I
missed out in New York. What would be better than that? Yeah, Las Vegas. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good alternative. So we'll see. I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna focus on myself, get healthy, and if that's what it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
All right, Luke. Well, as we
maybe
wrap up,
maybe we can postpone Kane and put him on there too.
Wow. Imagine that. Luke Rockhold getting us excited for 2019. Luke, as we wrap up quickly, Christmas is around the corner, so we have to get your top Christmas movie pick. What are you and Lucy going to be watching in the coming days?
Christmas movie.
It can't be R-rated. It's a family show.
Well, it can. I mean,
I can't go off the top. Christmas movie. I mean, you always got the Christmas Story. It's always a little classic. You'll see it a fucking million times on TV.
Yeah, Home Alone. Home Alone's pretty good. Home Alone. There's the New York one. There's the first one. Jingle All the Way. Dennis's favorite.
I've never been a big Christmas movie guy, but More of the tin cup Caddyshack.
What are you going to do for Christmas then? Are you going to be spending it in Malibu, or you got some other plans?
No, I'm just doing some stuff with Ralph Lauren down here, and then I'm gonna head it up to the Bay Area, see the family.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, Luke, we appreciate you coming on the program. You're bringing a lot of Christmas cheer to people all around Australia, New Zealand, and America. Guys, make sure to follow Luke on Twitter and Instagram at Luke Rockhold. And, of course, how could you not? With Lucy now on that Instagram account, there are even more reasons to now follow Luke Rockhold. We wish you guys a very Merry Christmas. Luke, thank you so much for coming onto the program, and can't wait to see what happens in 2019. I think March is going to be a very exciting month for MMA fans.
You're damn right. Later, boys.
This is Chael Sonnen, and you are listening to Submission Radio.
All right, guys. Well, a lot is made of making someone a very special Christmas present, and we thought, what is the best way to give back to all the Submission Radio listeners? There is one man that we thought we could deliver, one man that everybody would have on their Christmas list. The biggest present of all is back on Submission Radio. I am, of course, talking about the FIFA MMA Challenger runner-up, Sean Sheehan from Severe MMA. Welcome back to the program, Sean. I mean, who better to spread Christmas cheer than your beautiful self here on Submission Radio? Thanks for coming back on.
No problem. Anytime. In the words of Tyrion Lannister, I am the gift. So it's great. It's great to be here.
No true words have been spoken.
I'm telling you, I had Nick Baldwin on the podcast there the other day, and I was asking him about what Christmas is like in Canada, and it's very similar to Ireland. But I can't imagine for you guys, it's like warm over there. It's like 35 degrees and Christmas.
Maybe if you had us on the podcast for once, you find out that I guess
you know me now. You know me now. My time is always very bad. You're like, you guys are up at 6 o'clock in the morning at the moment. Me usually at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm just about to go to bed. So you know, it's never good. If you're living in the same time zone, it might be a bit better.
It'd be horrible if you had to interview us at 7 p.m. your time. Oh, what would you do? Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good. Welcome to the program. Now, to kick things up, we want to talk about a little bit of Becky Lynch. We saw there were a few Becky Lynch-related tweets on your account, so we have to ask, because we've been out of the WWE bubble for a little bit, how big is she in Ireland? Because it kind of seems like she's becoming a big deal all over the place lately.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think that big of a deal in Ireland, to be honest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
It's just me. I saw a few people actually saying it. I hadn't heard of her until you started tweeting about her, which was cool, I guess. But I haven't really saw anyone of my friends on Facebook or my friends on Twitter talking about her or anything. It's just like MMA fans and WWE fans and stuff. So yeah, no, I wouldn't say she has got into the ether in Ireland at all. It's just WWE is, I suppose it's the same here as it is everywhere. It's kind of, it doesn't have the heat that it had, and I suppose heat is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? It doesn't have the luster that it had years ago. Yeah, and there's lots of heat in WWE though, if you listen to Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer talking about it. Yep. But anyway, yeah, it isn't hot here anymore, and you know, I'm sure if she was like in WrestleMania and headlining WrestleMania or Ronda Rousey, then people would care more, or she'd have more of a shine. But at the moment, I don't see much. But for me, I always like Becky Lynch, and you know, obviously Finn Balor's really good too, and Sheamus is there as well. So Ireland have a lot of people. But Becky Lynch came out one day and said her place of birth was Limerick. So as everyone knows, I'm from Limerick as well. So after that, it's just I'm Becky Lynch forever. Becky Lynch till I die now. So I'm on the Becky Lynch trend forever. I was there before everyone else too. They all jumping on the bandwagon. I've been there for like 4 months before everyone else. So
4 months. She's an official part of Team Shan. See, we had a theory that, you know, if Conor McGregor was hypothetically to do some kind of brief, quick crossover into the WWE, make a quick couple of quid, it'd be something with Becky Lynch. But now you've doused those theories. Now we feel like idiots, Sean. Big stupid idiots.
Yeah, well, I don't know. She was on not the MMA or Ariel show on ESPN the other day, and she said she'd love to headline Carden Croke Park with Conor McGregor. And I don't know about the Croke Park bit, but her and Conor McGregor against Ronda Rousey and, you know, The Rock or Kurt Angle or someone like that, that could be huge. I think it'd be bigger in America than it would in Ireland, but I'm sure if Conor McGregor was doing something, it'd be huge, because Conor McGregor's unbelievably huge in Ireland, and you know, if it'd be a great way to make Becky Lynch a star in Ireland, if you put her in there with Conor McGregor and make her even, you know, more well known. I think people kind of do know her a little bit now because of just what has happened recently, and kind of, you know, the the lads' websites and stuff talking about her and things. But I think if she was to get in there and do a tag match with Conor McGregor, I think it could take her to the next level, definitely.
But the big thing, of course, is why isn't the real pride of Ireland? Why isn't the real moneymaker, the real pay-per-view draw being talked about as the real sort of tag team partner for Becky Lynch? Why isn't Sean Sheehan being spoken about on Twitter as doing a WrestleMania run and saving Becky Lynch? Sean, be honest with us. How are the DMs looking, apart from us desperately seeking for you to come on our program? Is Vince McMahon hitting you up? Is he sliding in there?
You're pricing yourself out, aren't you, Sean?
I'm pricing myself out, yeah. The Patreon money, you have to pay me over and above that to get me on board. So Becky Lynch gave me the follow there a few months ago. So maybe that's it. Maybe she's kind of, she's going to slide into the DMs.
Oh, things have just gotten even bigger here.
Let me just clank that name there.
Wow.
But yeah, maybe she'll slide into the DMs there and say, come over WrestleMania. I heard you get to New York pretty quickly and I can do that. Shannon Airport's only down the road there. I'll be straight out in. I laid a smackdown on a few people out there. Actually, Killian Dane is in there as well. He's an Irish guy. He's from Northern Ireland. A bit of the Sean Sheehan's about him, so maybe he can get in there as well. Help us out. Ireland take over. Myself, Becky Lynch, Sheamus, Finn Balor, Killian Dane. We can lay the smackdown on all them dirty Americans. I'll go full Corey Covington.
You bring up Sheamus. No one wants to see Sheamus.
No, we do. He's Irish. We have to put him in there. He is the redheaded stepchild, literally, of Irish wrestling. But we'll take him anyway.
See, I feel like we're privileged enough to see heel Sheehan, and I feel like the rest of the world needs to see that potentially on a WWE pay-per-view. But obviously, before we lose our entire fan base because we're talking about pro wrestling, we're going to talk about this past weekend. What did you think of Dan Hooker and his insane ability? I don't know whether he's tough or he's just that stubborn that he's like, I'm not going away, hey, in his typical Kiwi ways. What did you think of the way he was just able to take so many shots from Edson Barboza and just keep fighting the co-main? It seemed almost a little bit unfair to him that it wasn't stopped earlier.
Yeah, it was insane. Like 2 weeks in a row, we had Brian Ortega taking one of the most hellacious beatings we've ever seen, and then Dan Hooker does it as well. It was unreal. Like I don't know if I ever seen anything like it. The way he just, if you see a guy taking punches to the head over and over and over, you kind of understand, he's taking his best shot and he just can't knock him out, but he's beating him and he's beating him badly, and that's it's a bit weird, but we see that a lot. But in MMA or in boxing, we rarely see someone getting beaten to the body that badly and still going. It's like the body is not something you can kind of fight through. When you see guys, some of the best fighters in the world. I remember Ricky Hatton, who was it? I can't remember whoever he knocked out. Is like one world champion. He hit him with one shot to the body and knocked him out. If you get hit there, that's it. You're done. But Dan Hooker was just taking those shots, falling down, getting back up, coming through him again, taking big shots to the head as well, big kicks, those leg kicks, absolutely eating him up. It was just unbelievable. Now, why did he get there, I suppose, is maybe a bigger question to ask. I don't think he had the best game plan in the world, or maybe he had a game plan that he thought would give him the best method of victory against someone as dangerous as Edson Barboza, and you definitely can't fault him for that, for giving himself that hope and putting himself through the fire to get there, and it almost worked. In that second round, Edson Barboza looked like he was getting tired, and Hooker was getting a little bit of the upper hand, but Barboza came back in the third, and Hooker took an awful beating. It should have been stopped earlier. I don't think it should have been stopped after the second. I think he was definitely hurt, and he was hurt badly, but I think he was still going. But I think the referee should have stopped it maybe 30 seconds earlier than he did.
And nice stool as well. People would be happy to know we spoke to his coach, Eugene, from City Kickboxing. Dan Hooker is doing all right. He's got multiple concussions, but he'll be out of the hospital on Monday. And Eugene said he's going to make a full recovery. But I think also Dan Hooker learns from this experience because, Edson Barboza, big step up in competition for him. And you sort of learn when you get into the octagon with a guy at Edson's level that maybe like you tighten up your game plan a little bit and you sort of know what you're in for when he's in there again with some of those top-notch people. But again, unbelievable display of heart. Ultimately, though, Sean, with Edson, he's shown he's still one of the very best in the world. It was a great performance for him. What do you think makes sense for him next?
It's a difficult one, I suppose. But, Aloy Quinta won in the main event. I think that would probably make a bit of sense. There's lots of fights around. There's lots of guys he's already fought as well. And, the rematches and new guys. I'd love to see him fight, everyone. Look, that Tony Ferguson fight he had was one of the best fights ever. I know that's unlikely to happen, but I'd love him to fight him. And Pettis McGregor even. I'd love to see him fight McGregor. I think it'd be a great fight whether that happens or not. But that lightweight division, I talk about it so much. I've probably said it on here before. the lightweight division is such a hard division to actually get momentum in, and it's why fighters like Khabib and Tony Ferguson are so good, because they can win, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights in a row or whatever it is. It's like these guys are some of the best in the world. Edson Barboza is one of the best fighters in the world, and I think he's like 2-3 in his last 5 or 2-2 in his last 4 or something like that. It's insanity. Ala Quinta comes in here. I thought this was going to be maybe not an easy fight for Kevin Lee, but I thought he'd win fairly handily after beating him before. And Ala Quinta comes in and beats him. Ala Quinta lost to Khabib, then he's lost a few fights before. It's actually a murderer's oil. Other divisions, you can say, look at light heavyweight. We'll say it gets past number 2, and it's, they're smashing everyone else. But in this, it's just, these guys are just beating each other, and they're all top level. You even look at like a guy like Dustin Poirier. He's improved so much, and he's still going to lose fights in that division. It's just, you go long enough and you're going to lose. People talk about Khabib as well. He's unbeatable and everything. Khabib is a fantastic fighter, by far the best lightweight in the world at the moment. But he's going to lose too. It's just, you can't fight in that division and constantly fight 2 to 3 times a year and not lose eventually. It's just so good. And I think Barboza, I take absolutely nothing away from him. I take nothing away from Dan Hooker as well. I lost those. Obviously, a loss is bad here for Dan Hooker, but I think he'll come back as well. He's a guy who's improving, and I think Barboza's at the top of his game at the moment, or maybe had just passed it, but still really, really good. And there's lots of fights I'd like to see in that division for both of them.
Yeah, it's fascinating. On one hand, Kevin Lee was a guy that people are talking about as potentially a future title challenger. I don't know if that even happens at lightweight now, or sort of where his journey is now, but I'm glad you mentioned Ala Quinta, because he's in an interesting spot now. He goes from being a guy that people sort of counted out. We never really did see as much of him as we wanted. And then, he comes in, gets beaten by Khabib, but still puts on a good showing. Now he's the guy that survived a beating from Khabib while McGregor tapped out. And now he beat a super tough guy in Kevin Lee in somewhat, derailed a hype train. What do you think about the spot that he's in? And the fact that, he had such a tumultuous relationship with the UFC just makes things interesting. And then afterwards gets on the mic, just thanks everybody. It was almost shocking to see Al being all like, thank you, Sean Shelby, thank you, Hunter Campbell. But then he kind of cut a promo on McGregor. What do you think about the spot that he's currently in, in the UFC and the lightweight division?
Yeah, he's done himself no harm, and the lightweight division is in a bit of an odd spot at the moment, because what's going to happen with McGregor, what's going to happen with Khabib, they have this case coming up in Nevada at the moment. So, what's going to happen there? I suppose everything is kind of at a standstill at the moment. And the problem with that is as well, myself and Graham were talking on the podcast, and he made the point that, can these guys kind of wait around to get a Tony Ferguson? Can they wait around to get a Khabib? Can they wait around to get a McGregor? Because, okay, well, let's say they get cleared and they can fight, they get a 6-month ban or whatever, so they're back in 2 months or 3 months or whatever. Is McGregor versus Khabib going to happen? Is Khabib versus Tony going to happen? Maybe Khabib will get a longer break off. Maybe McGregor fights Tony. Something like that happens. So, if that happens, right, you're waiting another 3 or 4 months, then you're probably waiting another, 6 months to a year to fight in their next fight. So you're going to be sitting out here for over a year possibly if you want to wait around for these. So the best thing to probably do here is probably just take a fight. For Ala Quinta, I think he definitely has. I don't think he's put himself back in the spot yet to fight a Khabib. Maybe McGregor, but I don't think that's going to happen. McGregor talking, he put out that Instagram post a while back saying he'd be willing to fight contenders and all. I'd be a bit skeptical about that. I can't really see that happening. If it does, look, Ala Quinta has put himself right in the picture there, but I think someone like a Barboza would probably be a better matchup. A Poirier or someone like that around there. A Tony Ferguson, if the guys get banned, and that happens pretty quickly, I think that'd make a lot of sense as well. But that lightweight division at the moment, I could say who's going to fight next, and in a week's time it could be different because something else has happened. So it's definitely one of those divisions.
And because we didn't do a show last week, we didn't really get a chance to talk about it. Where does Max Holloway fit into the equation as a possible Conor McGregor opponent as well? I mean, there's the whole storyline with the featherweight him being the featherweight champ. Also, the storyline that they've had the previous fight before, Max looking fantastic in his last outing. Do you think he's in the running at all?
Possibly, but I think he's more in the running to fight Khabib next. I think that fight makes so much sense. They love doing the champion versus champion matchups. That's the hardest matchup under 155 pounds for Khabib, or under 170, we'll say. If he goes up to 170, there's a few harder ones as well. But I think Max Holloway has the best chance of beating Khabib out of everyone. He has that brilliant forward motion, that non-stop go forward, hit you as many times as he possibly can, and that's how you beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's how you beat him. You can't let him push you forward. You have to push him back, and I think Max Holloway can beat him. If that fight was to happen, I think Max Holloway would beat him, and that's the reason I really, really want to see it. Now, look, Max, we all know Max is a big guy. He came into the UFC when he was young. And you know, fighters always talk about how getting older, it's harder to make the weight. So I'm sure that's going to be an issue for him as well. He's going to want to move to lightweight at some stage. Is now the time? Maybe, you know, this Frankie Edgar match is a lot of people are always talking about it. Me personally, I've no interest in it. But Max Holloway seems like the sort of guy who wouldn't want any unfinished business there. He'd want to fight Frankie Edgar. If he beats Frankie, there's loads more guys coming. You know, Chad Mendes is on his way back up. He's fighting Volkanovski this weekend. You know, Magomed Sharapov is another guy who's on the way up, fighting Jeremy Stevens soon. All those guys are always going to be there. But I think now could be the time for Max Holloway to move up. I think the UFC would like him to move up. You know, Tony Ferguson mightn't like it, but that's, you know, tough shit on Tony Ferguson you know, at this stage, if that fight is going to be, you know, much bigger. And that, you know, that Tony Ferguson Khabib fight has been made 4 times already, and it hasn't happened. And like, we could lie to ourselves and say that isn't an issue, or that isn't a talking point coming in here, but it definitely is. But Max Holloway, whatever happens, this guy is phenomenal. He's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. He's up there with Demetrius Johnson and Khabib, and, you know, if you want to say Jon Jones as well, coming back. And if he went up and he beat Khabib, I think he'd be the best. I think he'd be the pound for pound best fighter in the world.
Absolutely. Just while we're talking about Max Holloway, obviously being a proud Hawaiian, Bellator had a Hawaii event this past weekend. What did you think of Bellator doing a Hawaii event before the UFC? I mean, with so many people for so many years campaigning for a Hawaii event, Max Holloway till he's blue in the face, obviously BJ Penn back in the day. Do you feel like the UFC kind of missed the boat, you know, being the first ones to have a major MMA event in Hawaii? Just seeing everybody in all their Hawaiian shirts got us so jealous.
Well, I'm in Ireland, so I actually can't watch the card. So I didn't see it, so I can't really talk about it. But sure, I don't know, the fuck Bellator, like that's the whole thing about it. Like, I'm sick of them. Like, I really want to watch that card. Like, people talking about, I was listening to a podcast, and I don't know who it was. They were talking about it, Ali Malay McFarlane's walkout, and saying it's, you know, one of the best moments, one of the best crowds ever since UFC Dublin seeing Conor McGregor. I didn't see it. I still haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the card. I haven't seen her fight. This is the problem with
Bellator about this, huh?
I do. It's like, you can't watch the card. And the worst thing as well, like, Bellator are putting on a card in Ireland here coming up, and they signed, like, I don't know, 20 fighters from the UK and Ireland. And how are we supposed to get excited if we can't watch them? Like, how are we supposed to get excited? They're talking about, you know, Norman Park going up and fighting Vincent Henderson, and, you know, maybe if he wins that, getting towards the title shot and stuff. Sure, people in Ireland don't even know who the champion is in Bellator. Like, we can't get behind him. We can't watch any of these people. It's just very frustrating. Like, for me, I said it on Twitter. Like, all the stuff that was coming out, like the weigh-ins and all the pre-fight videos and stuff that I saw, it looked great. Like, this Hawaii event looked absolutely brilliant. They had done what promotions very rarely do, and that's make an event special. There's so many events these days, they all blend into one, especially the UFCs, and they made this Hawaiian event special, and it looked absolutely brilliant from the bits I saw, but then we couldn't see it. So what good? Like, they're an American TV show. They're not a fight promotion. Like, they're an American TV show, and that's the problem with Bellator. And, you know, they don't care about the rest of the world. It might be fine for people in America. I think you're in the same situation. You can't really watch Bellator live as well.
Absolutely are, yeah. And every time there's a big event from Bellator, people are hitting us up like, "How do you watch it? How do you watch it?"
Me too.
And then we're like, "Well, you go to this dodgy Russian website, and then you can stream it." Yeah.
Allegedly, we say that. There's no proof. We say.
Can't prove it.
But what do you think? What do you think about them going to Hawaii before the UFC, Sean? Most importantly. Because they made a big splash and the UFC haven't, and the UFC have had some iconic Hawaiian fighters. Do you think that the UFC missed the boat to sort of make that first? It's kind of crazy, right? You got Max Holloway, you got BJ Penn. Apparently, the crowd over there was dying for an MMA event. Do you think the UFC missed the boat?
What difference does it really make to the UFC, though? It's great for Hawaii that Bellator went there, and it's shitty for them that
just killing everybody's hopes here.
Why did UFC care? Like, the UFC didn't go there because the Hawaiian government wouldn't pay them the amount of money they needed to get there to make the event viable. So the UFC are thinking, oh yeah, I can go there, or I can go to Milwaukee, and I can, you know, we can earn fucking 50 million more or 10 million more, or whatever it is. No, so they don't care. Okay, it's bad for the people in Hawaii. Like in Ireland, you know, we were waiting for 4 years for an event, and we eventually got one, and it was absolutely huge with Conor McGregor versus Diego Brandao. If it came, if, you know, Max Holloway and BJ Penn came, imagine Max Holloway versus Khabib in that big stadium they have in Hawaii. It would be absolutely huge, definitely. But did the UFC care about that? I'm not sure they do. The UFC care about money. Endeavor care about money. Ari Emanuel couldn't give a shit about the people in Hawaii and them watching fights. So have they missed the boat? Sure, if you want to look at it from the Hawaiian fans' point of view. But if you're the UFC, they don't care.
There it is. Before we wrap up, Sean, I mean, it's Christmas time. Everybody's excited. We have to get this from you. It's possibly the most looked forward to question of the whole episode. Sean Sheehan's top 3 Christmas movie list. And I'll allow an allocation for a couple of extra movies that don't make the top 3 as notable mentions. Go.
God almighty. Okay, give me a few suggestions. I like Home Alone. Bit of Home Alone now around Christmas. Like
which Home Alone, movie. 1 or 2?
1. I don't know what happens in 2. I remember 1.
Is it 2 the one where he's in New York?
It's a magical
movie.
Yeah,
I like that one more.
Oh yeah, 2 is good too. Okay, there's 2. What about? I know they're not technically Christmas movies, but Back to the Future around Christmas time, they're always on. Throw on the tree, Back to the Futures, watch them. Excellent.
Back to the Future, a Christmas movie.
I said it wasn't.
I asked you for your Christmas movie. It's like being like, oh, there's this Pornhub thing I like to watch once a year. Like, Die Hard is as far as you go, my friend. I'll count Die Hard, but all right. Anyway, all right, we got Back to the Future, Home Alone.
Tell me a few Christmas films there, and I'll pick out one if I like. I'm not great with Christmas films. What would there be? Give me a few suggestions.
Just quickly. I went on Twitter not too long ago, and I see Dennis giving Stephen Thompson Christmas movie advice out of nowhere. Team Sheehan alumni.
It was a whole thread as well.
It was a whole thread.
Lists. Movies.
Bad Santa. Bad Santa. There you go. There's one.
Jingle All the Way.
Oh God, I don't know. I'm not a great man. I'm not a great
What's the
Christmas film. I wouldn't be sitting around watching films on Christmas. I've better things to be doing. I've turkey to be eating and beer to be drinking. So, fine. I'll try on a Christmas film there in the bank, Ev, later on, and I'll send you a video on. I guess send me in your suggestions, people there, and I'll watch one. I'll send you in a video on Instagram there, and we can all watch it together.
Do you want to help Sean out, Dennis? I feel like you're dying to bust out a few Christmas movies.
Yeah, go on, tell me.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of good ones. What about Batman Returns? That's something that people don't really discuss too much. There's little penguins with rockets on their back.
Has he a white cape? Has he like a red and white cape and a big white Batman mask?
Well, if you saw Christopher Walken in that one, he does kind of look like a skinny Santa Claus on meth. So there's that. There's a lot of good ones. The first Santa Claus is great. There's a lot of great ones. We'll have to figure this out, Sean. Instagram. Everybody jump on social media and let Sean know what your favorite movies are. That was a very good answer, Sean. Thank you. I was really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that one. Just following up from the Hawaii question, it really goes hand in hand.
On par for the course.
Of course, over the holiday period, Sean Sheehan does an amazing job on Severe MMA and Patreon. Quickly, I see there's a bunch of bonus episodes. We threw it up on our Instagram just the other day, just for the people, Sean. What could they get if they subscribe?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have an interview with Nick Baldwin up. He covered the last 2 UFC cards for Severe MMA. So we talk about them and how you could get into covering MMA, because he's kind of done it the more traditional way, I suppose, starting off as a young guy with his blogging and getting into covering MMA. So I asked him about that. Then I have 2 episodes of The Rewatch. So I go and I watch the fights and I talk over them, we do analysis. So the main one is going to be Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. And if you don't have Fight Pass, that's actually up on YouTube. So you can put on YouTube on the screen in front of you and you can listen to me talking over it as it happens. And I'll run you through all the analysis and how I think Alexander Gustafsson could win the next fight. We also have, if you're a fan of soccer, Jose Mourinho just got sacked today by Man United. I'm a big Man United fan, and my co-host Graham is a big Liverpool fan, so we came on and did a podcast about that, so that's fun as well. We also have a couple of our $20 subscribers. So if you're a $20 subscriber, you can give us a question, and we'll do a 15-minute podcast on it every month. So one of them is an MMA naughty and nice list from the year, and another one is about Irish MMA and kind of the state of Irish MMA. So if you're interested in that, that's there. And there's loads more stuff too. We also have a big it's going to be Friday for patrons and Sunday for everyone else. The big preview of UFC 232 as well, so that should be fun. And we have loads.
Exciting times. And of course, follow Sean on Twitter at Sean Sheehan BA. Guys, that is the program for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. A big thank you to Luke Rockhold, Damien Brown, Michael Chiesa, and yourselves for tuning in. There is still one more episode of Submission Radio left to go. The UFC 232 preview show dropping next week. Jump into the description below if you are watching on YouTube, and subscribe to ESPN Plus now to check out all the great content. With that, thank you. Have a great Christmas, and we'll be back next week.